Good evening and welcome to the June 17th, 2025 board meeting. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Officer Cora, could you lead us off? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have a moment of silence. Where to even begin, the strife in Israel, the assassinations in Minnesota. It's hard to fathom, and I think we need to really pray for unity. And while we think about that, pray for those that protect us, those that are out there on the front lines, whether it's in the streets in our blue or fighting in green across the nation and in other countries. We pray for their safety. Thank you. Introductions to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Good evening, Lieutenant Howard, Councilwoman.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Sergio Esposito, Deputy Supervisor.
Patrick Murphy, Councilman.
Susan Siegel, Councilwoman.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
Okay. I'm going to move quickly through my report just because we have the chief with a little bit of a presentation today. We did lose our Girl Scouts chief, so if you could get us some Girl Scout cookies when you come up, that would be great. I think as a town board, I'll speak as we congratulate all of our graduating seniors coming up. This will be our last meeting before the graduations, and I know Yorktown has their prom tonight, and I think Lakeland tomorrow night, so we hope our kids have a great time, but not too great of a time, and that they are out there having fun and being safe. I've had the honor of going to quite a few presentations for some of our graduates that are receiving different scholarships, and it's been a wonderful experience meeting and or reacquainting myself with some of these young men and women who have met at different functions, and I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the recipients are people that I've run into at different events that are community-based and working with the town, and I know we'll hear from one of them today. So that'll be it for me. Susan?
Go ahead. You want to do her first?
I went.
Oh, okay. All right.
I guess Susan wasn't listening.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just have some quick updates. On the Halleck's Mill Sewer Extension, I know I've been getting calls from a lot of homeowners. They want to know what's happening. In some cases, they are thinking about they have to make some repairs to their systems, to their either a new septic tank, new septic fields. They don't know what to do. I've emailed the town engineer. One of the stumbling blocks that we need to do is contact the DEC because the current plan is to go through the Gomer wetlands, and so I want to know if Dan has been able to make a contact with them.
Yes.
And so if you can give us an update, on that, because
he's on their clock right now, Susan. He's been in touch with them. He's done a follow-up. They need to come out. They have someone on maternity who is usually in our district. So we're unfortunately a slave to them. And as you know from your time in office, they do not really care what type of a clock we're on. But we will keep pushing.
we need to keep pushing because that's
will.
the next stumbling block, and we can't do anything until we address that.
Yep.
The second issue, I just want to check about we have the hearing scheduled July 1st for the extension of the Lake Osceola District. Was the Navajo Fields, their latest submission, has that been referred out Diana, could you?
Do all of the agencies that we previously sent it out? Yes, it has been.
Okay, when was that sent out?
I have to check my files, but we can typically send it out the next day.
Because I checked, because I was concerned about the Conservation Board, and they hadn't received anything.
We'll double check.
All right, and will any of those submissions, the submissions in May and the submissions in June, be put online, or will people have to come into the office to visit?
I thought they already were online.
They're not.
Correct, they are all online
As of when? Because
as of today.
all right, then late today, because I think when I looked in earlier
They're
in the.
very- There's 4 very large books, Susan, and it took a long time for us to do.
Okay, well, thank
So
you.
they're online.
Okay, good.
Okay.
As I say, when I checked
right.
this morning, they weren't, and that's why. All
Okay,
right.
but they are now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they have been referred out, so the Conservation Board should have
They've
it.
been referred out to all of the agencies that were done the first time.
Did they get the May and the June submissions?
They would have already received the May, because each time we get a submission in, we refer it out to the same people.
So they would have gotten it, okay. I also just want to let the community know, last week there was a discussion as part of the Navajo. I raised the issue of the floor area ratio, also known as FAR, and I said at the time when John Tegeter, our planning director, gave some comments that I wanted to comment on them, but I didn't think it was the appropriate time. I sent the town board a memo saying think we need an open discussion about the FAR, so I'd like that to then be in one of our July meetings, that we need to discuss that, because the density is critical, whether it's for Navajo or in general for any overlay that needs to be discussed. And then just the final thing, when we get to the resolutions, there are 2 dealing with sewers and bonding, and I will make some comments then. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'll go quick. And Susan, just in reference to the FAR, I think Ed addressed that last week when he talked about it, and he had John here, and I think he addressed it perfectly. So,
It did say that I had some comments to what John had said, but I didn't think it was the appropriate time to discuss it then, and that we needed another discussion.
and I think John and Ed did a sufficient job explaining it. So,
Well,
that's my opinion.
Oh.
That's
The-
all. You have your
yeah.
opinion. That's fine.
You know, we're having a debate over something that was actually debated and set up in the law to begin with. It was specifically set as a different floor area ratio based on flexibility standards, and that was what it was looked at and why it was done that way. I will, I've already polled the board. It's going to be a very short discussion.
Honestly, I don't think we need a discussion. I think John Tegeter's explanation was more than sufficient, and we have so many other things that we should be addressing and we should be more focused on than something that I really don't think. I think it was explained. I think it was part of the law, just like you said, and it was done intentionally that way. And I don't think we need to spend any additional time on it because we have so many other things that we would like to cover. But
All right. So
I'll wait for my turn.
Let me go back to my report, and I just want to put a shout out to Timmy Vespucci. He got his Eagle Scout Award over the weekend. It's Eagle Scout's pretty serious, They did a great job. So, and then the library will be closed for redesign. The children's section, just the little section from the June 18th to June 21st. Okay, and it's just the community center where the kids come in and play. And then on June 19th, the library will be closed for the whole day. It's a national holiday, so it'll be closed. And then, like Ed, you said, congratulations to all the kids in all the grades that are graduating and moving up. All right, Serge.
Yes, I just came from my son's pre-prom. We had a pre-prom. Then there was a pre-prom, and now they're at the prom. At the surf club. So it was great to see all these kids. They're all so grown up, but all of a sudden. I'll keep it short as well. There's a pitch, hit, and run coming up where you could win tickets to the World Series if you advance far enough. That's going to be being put on by the Elks, and we also had a new chapel open up called Freedom Chapel. Great group. It was great seeing them and meeting them, and they really have a really tight knit worship group there. It's just very impressed by all of them, And I think I'll end it there just so we can move on.
Well, I will say they're holding their services at what's now called Jefferson on the Lake, the old Ceola Manor. If anyone's interested in looking into them, they do have services there. And I did neglect to mention that the town of Yorktown is doing a website poll, and it's basically how do you like to use the website, and what are you looking for, and how easy is it? So it's there's a link to it on our homepage. Please, if you do use the website, go on there, and please take the few minutes to answer, as it is very, very important as we redesign and get ready for new service to see what you're thinking of this and see where we need to make improvements.
Congratulations that we're surviving June. I didn't realize that June is almost harder than December. There's so many great activities, so many things to celebrate. I guess I just want to say that I am so grateful to be here with you guys. I'm so grateful for our police department, for the recent incidents that have happened in our town and how quickly they've reacted to them. I am very excited for all the moving up from third grade going to Crampond, from everyone moving into Copper Beach, from all of Copper Beach splitting up and going either to Walter Panis or to Lakeland, to the Yorktown schools that are now wrapping up some of their sports season, the prom. The Freedom Chapel was great. Don't forget that there is summer reading at the library. It is not only for kids. You can do them with your kids. I have to do them with my kids, or my kids will not read. So it's always a good competition to see how many pages we can read by the pool. The pool is open. They are still looking for lifeguards. The camp is still registering. Yeah, I saw her tap at you. Definitely look out for that application on Parks and Rec. There's also the camp. The more counselors we get and the more community that we can serve, because there's a ratio to how many students can go to one counselor. So please, if you have children, or if you have someone who can do even just a month of it, the local camp, look on our Parks and Rec, speak to Jim, and reach out. There's also a great place for you to bring your artistic abilities, whether it's music, art, sports, so that you can get these kids moving and shaking. That's all I got.
Well, for someone who didn't want to talk today, you said an awful lot.
I hope I said it really fast.
You did.
Okay. But I still got it.
All right, we have we do have a proclamation today. I'd like to read this in, and this is 19th day of June. Whereas on June 19th, 1865, more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word of their freedom, marking a pivotal moment in our nation's history. And whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, or Emancipation Day, stands as a powerful reminder of the enduring resilience, strength, and contributions of African Americans to the fabric of the United States. And whereas this day invites all Americans to reflect on the injustices of slavery, to honor the generations who fought for liberation and civil rights, and to continue the work towards justice, equity, and inclusion for all. Whereas Juneteenth is not only a commemoration of the end of slavery, but also a celebration of black culture, heritage, excellence, and progress in the face of persistent adversity. And whereas acknowledging our past with honesty is essential to building a future rooted in dignity, equality, and mutual respect, now therefore be resolved that I, Edward Lachman, along with the town board of the town of Yorktown, call upon all residents to recognize and honor the day through education, reflection, community engagement, and celebration. I just will share my first lesson of Juneteenth was actually at the Lincoln Depot Museum over in Peekskill, where one of our former county legislators, John Testa, had started a celebration on it. And to find out that it took over 2 years for the word to spread, and when you think about that in today's society where everything is just instantaneous and the pathways for communication are so full and just rapid response, the immediacy of it, it's kind of sad that it took that long, and the path though that was fought to get there, the Civil War, which was, among other things, about slavery as well. Really shows the movement of our country over the decades and now century, and how we've passed through things and how we've attacked it as a people, growing towards a common cause, and we strive for that day of equality for all, and let's hopefully stay on that path, because there have been a lot of road bumps along the way, and we want to make sure that we stay there. All right.
I worked the detail in White Plains, their Juneteenth celebration. They did it last week, the 14th, and they blocked all of Mamaroneck Avenue. What a great parade! They had a great parade and a lot of celebration. The weather held out, but an amazing time, and a tribute to something that's so monumental in our history.
Yes. All right. We will move forward to presentations, and Chief Robert Noble.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Supervisor Lackman, members of the town board, EQ, Adam. Thanks for having me on such short notice. All right. I believed it was, proper that I come down here today because we had a disturbing incident that occurred on Sunday at or about 11:30 in the Staples Plaza. And, there's been a lot of conjecture about what actually happened, what didn't happen. And I just wanted to allay fears in the community and also share a little bit about how proud I am of Officer Tim Curtin and the members of the Yorktown Police Department and the actions that they took on Sunday. As you may know from the releases that we've shared, at about 11:30, a gentleman was leaving one of the stores at Staples Plaza when he was approached from behind, unknown. He didn't see the attack coming at all, where our suspect put his arm around his neck, pressed a knife to his neck, and ran it all the way across his neck, making a puncture wound at the end of his neck. We believe that the subject had the wrong end of the blade, going through his neck. Otherwise, we, in all likelihood, would have had a homicide that day. Thankfully, the victim was able to separate, create, time and distance, and smartly he called the Yorktown Police Department very quickly. Gave us very good information. It allowed us, thankfully, again, as you often see, our response times are just amazing. And Officer Curtin, thankfully, was close by, responded to the scene, and with the severity of the alleged incident, he got there alone and spotted the suspect across the street near Chase Bank, 3394 Crown Pond Road, and made the decision to, tactically place his car in a position of advantage, making traffic almost go around a little bit and creating time and distance for himself. And with clear, concise commands, following his training, department guidelines, he was able to gain compliance from our suspect. And the suspect dropped the knife, prone out on the ground, listened to the commands, and again, we shared the video, and I wish I had it tonight, but we had some technical difficulties. But Channel 2, Channel 7, and Channel 12 had the video, of the incident, and I couldn't be prouder of the actions of Officer Tim Curtin. It's not every day, and the men and women of my police department, the calls for service that they get can go from mundane to something like Sunday, where they're responding to the scene of what could have been our worst day out there. And when you're responding to somebody who has been attacked, with a knife, and you gain compliance from that subject, it was a win for everybody involved. Officer Curtin didn't have to use deadly physical force, which he would have been justified in using had that subject approached him with that knife. His de-escalation and commands given, again, they were professional and they were stern. They were also polite and respectful. Mm-hmm. How he did what he did that day, really, he deserves our utmost respect and appreciation. The suspect, he'll get his day in court, and he'll get to go home at some point when that time comes. But again, he's still with us. And most importantly, Officer Curtin, he gets to go home to his family. And an officer-involved shooting is one of the most traumatic traumatic things a police officer can go through in his career. And I'm very thankful that he didn't have to take those measures last Sunday. So it's with pride that I stand here and I share this, and I want to share this with the community. It was a random attack. The subject who committed the attack did not. We don't believe he knew his victim. The victim certainly did not know the suspect. We're thankful to the business owners down there who tried to assist us with video. There was a civilian witness who also, really assisted us in giving a statement and, validated the actions that Officer Curtin took, and also substantiated the attack that occurred down at 202 Plaza there at Staples. So that's what I wanted to share with the community. That yes, it was an attempted murder charge, and it's also a lesson to everybody. You see it on a national stage, and this is a use of force that wasn't ugly. And a lot of times, use of force with police, it has to be ugly because people don't comply with commands. And thankfully, this person complied with the commands given by a Yorktown police officer. And everybody walks away traumatized, but uninjured. Mm-hmm. And that's important. Our victim did suffer, injuries. Miraculously, they were considered probably minor. He declined medical attention to go to the hospital. He may have done so afterwards or gone to urgent care, but at the time, he just wanted to give a statement and get home to his family, which was perfectly understandable. But again, that's what I wanted to come here and share with you and the community. That you should be proud once again of your police department. That you had an officer, and the responding officers got there very quick as well. As usual, they got there quickly and promptly. But when you get the chance to listen to the commands given by Officer Curtin, and also once he had the suspect in custody, he quickly relayed that slow it down, everybody's okay here. I've got the suspect in custody. So it's textbook. It was just perfect, and I stand before you a very, very proud, police chief with the actions of Officer Curtin.
So, Bob, I know I said it before, but I'll share with the public too, in case no one sees the reports or if they cut me, which sometimes will happen. But very proud of it. It's not an accident that Yorktown is one of the safest communities. And this does not preclude us from being a safe community, because it's actually how our force responds that makes us safe. And watching the tape, and that was another thing that we did. We had the foresight, and I know we've spoken about this before, where we knew there was going to be an added expense on our budget to put a lieutenant in who would be able to go through all the electronic detailing that needs to be done. But we warned everyone in advance that we were going to do that, and we have the body cams. And those body cams showed an amazing story. We could actually take this tape and use it for training. And it wasn't just the commands, it was the command that Officer Curtin used. He was in total control of the situation. He knew exactly where he was going with it, and it was amazing. But the body worn cams really give us a great picture of what happened, and your team's to be commended not only for that, but I've also mentioned I've done your training protocols with the virtual reality training, and I had one instance where I had to fire the gun, and my heart was racing so much. It was electronic, but as I came up, I actually missed the target standing really about 3 feet in front of me. And it was quite the experience. So to know what Officer Curtin was going through, what was happening there, and this is what our police deal with every traffic stop they make, every time they stop a suspect. This is part of the reality of their life, and we should never take it for granted. We're extremely proud of our force. Men and women in Yorktown, I think, are exceptional, and I think that also comes from exceptional leadership. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I gotta tell you, being able to de-escalate a situation like that, because an officer-involved shooting, like you said, it's very traumatic. It's not like the movies where it flashes and all of a sudden you see the caution tape. So kudos to Officer Curtin. I mean, to de-escalate something like that and avoid all of that, it's just simply amazing, especially under the pressure he must have been under. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief, for just coming out and letting the community know what happened, because I've got multiple phone calls about the situation, but there's a whole bunch of people that have no one to call or get the updates, and thank you for taking time out of your night to do it. And please give our best to Tim.
I will certainly do that. No, thank you, and thank you all very much, for the support. And yeah, I do want to remind people that, while we wear the uniform and a lot of trust is given to us with the badge, gun, and wearing the vest, but we're all human, and that's a stressful call, and these officers are faced with a lot of stressful situations out here, it's an honor for me to support them and to provide, and again, the training that we receive. Our firearms instructors, our use of force instructors, that all played a role. That, you had a well-trained police officer out there that day doing very good work. So I thank you all for the support. And, another incident, while you have me.
Go for it.
I need everybody to lock their cars. It's quite simple. It's not a heavy burden, and it's not a big ask. Please lock your vehicles. A couple of weeks ago, we had, and it's been a while since we've had the car shoppers up here. But, again, very good police work. That night, we were on it. When the speeds hit triple digits, it was time to back off. That vehicle was stolen out of Greenwich, Connecticut, recovered in Newark, New Jersey, where one of the debit cards of the victims was utilized. Our detectives were right on it. We recovered the car. There was a snafu with the tow agency down in Newark. They weren't exactly pleasant to deal with, but and there was a delay getting that. So we're still trying to get the suspects involved, back up here to face justice. But we were able to reunite a lot of the public who lost property that night with their property. There were a lot of phone calls made by detectives to have people come in and retrieve their property and sign owners' depositions. But again, please lock your cars. Maybe they'll go someplace else, and it'll save my officers from being involved in chases that we don't want them in. So I thank the public for that. And lastly, I always want to end on a positive. National Night Out, August 5th, Tuesday evening, 6 to 9 p.m. Put it on your calendars.
We know.
Luciana, thank you so much. DJ Marco,
Always.
John Iorio with Fun Time Amusements. Our PBA is throwing a lot of money at this to make this a great event, out there that literally costs the town next to nothing. So thank you all very much for your support. I hope to see a lot of the community out there meeting their fine police department on August 5th.
I will be there.
Thank you for your
with
courtesy
bells on.
tonight. Thank you,
Where's it
everybody.
going to be, Chief, this year?
What's that?
Where's it going to be?
Same spot. Right at the
track?
Cappellini. Yep, the track Memorial Gazebo.
Albert A.
Veterans
Cappellini
Field.
Community Cultural Center.
That's it. It just rolls off your tongue, Supervisor.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the recipients I got to speak to yesterday was actually Al Cappellini's granddaughter.
Okay.
So it was very nice to see that.
All right.
But thank you, Bob. And I will, just to piggyback on your locking cars, you may want to also make sure you take any of your garage remote controls out. Keep it in a purse, keep it in the garage when you come and go, keep it with your keys. Shouldn't really leave them in your cars.
Yep. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, so we were supposed to have 3 of the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber Foundation scholarship recipients here today. 2 of them, the nerve, one wanted to go to her prom today, and the other wanted to get her hair done for her prom tomorrow. But I will have to gather that Kennedy has not done their prom yet, or is doing it, already did it. Had it already. Okay, so that's why you were able to make it. So I would like to call Eleanor Brown up to the microphone.
Hello, all members of the town board. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored. My name is Eleanor Brown. I'm a graduated senior at Kennedy Catholic over in Somers, but I do live in Yorktown and have lived in Yorktown my whole life. I do a lot. You saw me tap my brother there over because I've done a lot of lifeguarding for the town pool, and I'm actually going to be the assistant swim coach for their swim team this summer, which we've done our whole lives. So we've really been involved with Yorktown, you know. And you've seen me at some community service events, of course.
And that must be why my wife sort of gravitated to you and liked you so much. Our daughter did the same thing with the swim team.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she swam on that team from I think junior high, right? It may not even been before junior high. She actually swam with Jim Matarano.
Really?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were on the team together.
Yeah, I've done it since I was 6, so maybe we overlapped. I don't know.
My daughter's 40.
Oh.
Not
Maybe
even
not
not
then.
even close. But thank you, and I'm sure
welcome.
Carol thanks you too.
She goes, maybe not then.
No, she was just like, no.
I love it.
I'm really happy to be attending the University of Notre Dame this fall, and I was honored to be selected as one of those Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce scholarship recipients, and thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Well, thank you. And as you said, we met, actually, it was at the Spring Fest at the mall. And it wasn't for the just, going there and shopping around and talking to people. Carol and I were asked to, I think Carol volunteered us to go help with the senior lunches as they had some people not be able to make it. And Eleanor was there helping out with the senior lunches, and it was, God bless. And I think you were pretty much there the entire 3 hours or 3.5 hours that we were handing out food, and just really a big smile, and I know the seniors felt great. So it gives me a great honor to present you with this. Whereas academic achievement, leadership, and community involvement are hallmarks of excellence, and those who embody these qualities serve as role models and future leaders of our society. And whereas Eleanor Brown has demonstrated outstanding academic performance, extraordinary character, leadership, and a sincere commitment to making a positive impact in her community and beyond, Eleanor is also an exceptional multi-sport athlete and competitor, and whereas Eleanor has been selected to receive the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber Foundation Scholarship in recognition of her achievements, she will be attending the University of Notre Dame, and whereas the honor reflects not only Eleanor's hard work and perseverance, but also the support of family, teachers, mentors, and peers who have nurtured and encouraged her success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Edward A. Lachterman, along with the Town Board of the Town of Yorktown, extend our heartfelt congratulations to Eleanor Brown on this outstanding accomplishment. We take pride in your achievements and have confidence in your future. May this scholarship serve as a stepping stone to continued growth, discovery, and impact. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's that? Sure.
We have to let you do a little work.
You're going to.
I hope you like football games. Oh, good. 'Cause it's cool for that. That's for sure.
Steve's my partner.
Oh, what is that? Well, Steve's gonna have to buy some swag.
I'm gonna buy some shoes.
No, I'll get the slides. I will get the slides.
I'm all Fred now.
That's it.
2, 3, cheese.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you. Have a good time. Yeah, I can,
He made some inquiries already, but then he.
okay. I need a little, yeah. All right, well, we're gonna put you on the
Congratulations.
board.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
I'm coming for you.
That's awesome. Siegel.
Congratulations.
You knew my father. Congratulations.
He's ready.
Did you want to ask him something, Susan?
No, he
Knows his
told me
father.
I knew his father.
Yeah.
Oh, how nice.
I think I saw you once fixing a car.
I've done some of that too.
All right. So, I guess maybe after prom we'll have Christina and Ava come in. If not, we will get them their awards. But such a wonderful group of young men and women all around at that presentation the other morning. Jan, I think you were there too, right? Yep. And it was just unbelievable. Some of the kids, I made the joke, they were talking about everything they do in school, and I'm like, wow. When I showed up, it was like, when do I get to go out and play frisbee? Back in my days, and it was, just seeing them, but a lot of memories because I was in FBLA as one of the young ladies was there, and that community aspect was something that started in high school for me too, and it's really just great to see how much it's expanded since then. All right.
We would love for you to stay, but you also don't have to.
Yes.
Just a little permission, Steve, just in case.
All right. So I see Sergio has his computer open, so I'm going to assume that that's from the Poet Laureate.
Yes, it is. The Red Sox and the Yankees are on TV by John McMullen. The Red Sox and Yankees are on TV now, and what sportscaster Art Russ Jr. used to call the big ball yard in the South Bronx is packed to the seams. I have great memories of that place in 1958, and I and Pat Mayer and Ed McNulty, both no longer with us, were at the NFL championship game between the football Giants and Baltimore Colts. Went into sudden death overtime. The Giants had the ball first and did not score. Then Johnny Unitas took the Colts down the field, and Alan Amici ran the ball in for the victory. I, having jumped out of the bleachers at the end of regulation, was on the sidelines for the overtime, and I stole part of the wooden goalpost, from the game. Then Barbara and I and my brother Bud and wife Bee, both also no longer with us, were at the 4th of July game when Dave Righetti no-hit the Red Sox. I remember that.
So do I.
When Wade Boggs, later a Yankee, came up with 2 outs in the 9th inning, Barbara leaned and asked Bud, a nut Red Sox fan, "Are you rooting for the no-hitter now?" Boggs struck out Bud, wouldn't talk to Barbara for over an hour. It seemed that the game was a good while ago, but I wasn't sure how long, so I asked co-pilot what year the no-hitter was. The hard-to-believe answer was 1983, 42 years ago. How the time flies. And we used to park in the parking lot of the All Hallows, the high school that was the alma maters of both my brother, 1940, and me, 1956. All Hallows' last year in existence was this year. Great memories, but a little painful to realize how long ago. John McMullen.
I think John's showing his age when you're at a game with Johnny Unitas.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
That's great.
A lot of memories at Yankee Stadium too, and Shea Stadium. In all fairness, but I was actually at David Cohn's perfect game, which was an amazing.
I like the hats the Mets they wear, and they got the logo for Shea. It just says Shea on the side. It's cool. Brings you back.
Yep.
Brings you back.
All right.
I'm a Yankees fan. Just
So we're going to go to personnel. We're going to accept the retirement letter received from Lieutenant Samuel Sansone from the Yorktown Police Department, effective the end of business, June 20th, 2025, with thanks for his many years of service to the town. Sammy, we wish you nothing but success for you and your family in this big move for you. We are going to reappoint Gary Link to the position of Town Assessor for a 6-year term beginning on October 1st, 2025, expiring on September 30th, 2031. We had a special meeting this morning due to a problem with the Board of Assessment review and having enough people to be able to hear any cases that came from our public. So we appointed Jonathan Pratt as a member to the Board of Assessment review this morning, and we also appointed Kim Adams Penner as an alternate member of the Board of Assessment review. Let's see, Jonathan's has a term expiring September 30th of 2028, and the same date for Kim Penner. And that's the unexpired term of Jonathan Pratt, who was the alternate, and so he moved up. All right. We will open the floor for public comment.
You need a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, motion might be nice.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And please note that's for the first two. The other ones were already passed earlier. We will open the floor for public comment. Please remember 3 minutes per speaker. Introduce yourself. Please be courteous, and please realize you do not have to wait until courtesy the floor to speak to any of the board members, any of our departments, anyone that you need in town. You could be reached on our website, and as you go to the website, please do our survey, and we will go from there. Mr. Kopstein, how are you?
Good evening, Jay Kopstein. Prior to our last open board meeting, I had occasion to contact Supervisor Lachman, council members Esposito and Siegel, as well as the highway superintendent. They each got back to me within an hour of that contact, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Larry.
Larry, how are you?
Good evening, Larry Killian, Yorktown Heights. I listened carefully to the discussion at the work session last week about the tax error in the 2025 adopted budget. You used the March of 2024 assessed value instead of the September assessed value as required by Section 283.171 of the laws of Westchester County. It appeared that not only did you not admit an error was made, but it seems you are planning to continue the error. Here's the timeline. In March of 2024, the assessment roll was finalized for the April 2024 tax bills. A month later, there was a $1.1 million reduction in the assessed value granted to the JV Mall. So you had May, June, July, August, September, October, and November to factor that loss into the budget calculations. Can you really tell me in good conscience that it was appropriate not to factor in that loss when you calculated the tax rate in the adopted budget? Set aside the legal requirement to use the September assessed value. Doesn't it make sense to use the most current value, the one from September, when you tell people in the newspapers what the tax rate will be? It's hard to imagine how such a large drop in assessment could have been ignored. If I were the supervisor, I would have asked Gary in April what the implications of the loss would be. And Gary would have told me that new assessments were not coming in, and we would have a loss of assessed value of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet the budget you shared with the public and adopted showed a loss of only $90,000 in assessed value instead of the $800,000 it should have showed, and the tax rate was 6.6 when it should have been 7.4. That was an error. It should be admitted. You need to tell us what changes you'll make to ensure the error won't happen again. Somehow you ignored that loss of $1 million in assessed value. There are many really stupid laws out there. However, the law that requires the town to use the official September assessed value, I think, is a very good idea, and that is what you should continue to use in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Good evening, Town Board. I am Howard Gould, Yorktown resident for 26 years. First, I'd like to give kudos to the Town Board for always answering questions and concerns of all Yorktown residents. For me to get up and speak to the Town Board in front of the residents of the community of the great town of Yorktown is not easy for me. After all, I'm not a great speaker. I'm a good speaker. I am proud of Yorktown's business growth and community and progress and preservation. I stand up here today that whether a project affects me directly or indirectly as a resident of Yorktown, I will give my input respectfully with civility and listen with open ears to all sides of the discussion, as I have always did when I speak. I believe we learn from each other with good communication. Asking questions and getting the answers gives us better understanding of exactly what goes on in our town. This brings me to the point of order. To be clear, Susan Siegel, and here we go again. With all due respect, when you responded to me 2 meetings ago, and I do appreciate you answering me, please let me know if I heard you correctly. I brought up the subject of the sewer and the sewer taxes and how important the subject is to the residents that pay taxes. But the problem is that you spend too much time, approximately 30 minutes on every meeting was spent on sewers, adding more time to the agenda. You responded that I was a tenant, and since I am not a homeowner, I have no rights to talk about it. That was the impression I received from you. Susan, are you saying that any tenant does not have the right to speak? Please clarify. I would really like to know the answer. Also, speaking about answering questions, the nice deputy supervisor, Sergio, asked you, Susan, a question several times about the subject you brought up about the so-called private closed-door meeting, which never occurred, and you did bring it up in the public town hall meeting. The fact is that you ignored or avoided answering Sergio many times, asking for an answer. I feel Sergio deserves an answer from you, and I would also like to hear the answer. Why did you not answer the question? He was civil, polite, respectful when answering you. I hope I can get answers to all 3 of the questions. Thank you. Looking forward to hearing about the sewers that concerns all residents. Have a wonderful evening. And also, just to remind people, there is a concert at the end of the month. I don't know if you want to talk more about the concert. Please remind people about it because it's always the greatest concert in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard.
What was your count?
Good evening. Elon Gilbert, former town supervisor, and I guess a 30, well, whatever, year resident.
A lot of years.
Yeah, lots of years. I wasn't really going to speak tonight, but something that Ed commented on, obviously it had quite a lot of value. Your comment, Ed, about how remarkable it was that it took 2 years for freedom to reach those individuals in Texas. But what really struck me, and that's why I'm standing up tonight, is yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and while we've made great strides for equality in this country, what's even more unfathomable, if you think about it, when you talked about the 2 years, it took over 100 years until we had the civil rights laws of the 1960s. And I think it's so important to realize we must continue to remain. It doesn't happen on its own. We have to remain ever vigilant to reach the ideals set forth in our Constitution. John Stewart, I think, said at one point, as Martin Luther King said, the arc of the universe bends towards justice, but it doesn't bend towards justice on its own. Mm-hmm. We have to work at it. And I just hope that we can continue that fight together as a country, because it scares me where we are right now. And as Benjamin Franklin said, when asked what kind of government we had, he said, "We have a republic if you can keep it." Thank you.
Michael Hickens, Yorktown resident. I wish I hadn't followed you, because now I'm going to follow you. I'd like to thank the board for recognizing Juneteenth in Yorktown. As federal holidays go, Juneteenth is a newcomer, but its historical significance should be of the utmost importance to all Americans. Ed, as you've stated in the past, the history of the United States is full of some shameful iniquities, slavery, of course, but also the genocide of Native American people, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, the government's refusal to accept Jewish refugees from Europe during the darkest days of the Holocaust, segregation. I could go on, but you get the idea. The good news is, better late than never. Juneteenth is now recognized as a national holiday celebrating the end of chattel slavery in the U.S. The bad news is that racism and other forms of intolerance still rear their ugly heads. We can look no further than the anti-Semitic graffiti here in Yorktown just a few weeks ago, or the indiscriminate persecution by ICE of people of color, whether here legally or not, but simply on the basis of their surnames or the color of their skin. The good news is that people across the country are fighting back. Between 6 and 8 million people participated in peaceful marches and gatherings in towns large and small last weekend to protest this indiscriminate use of force against U.S. residents and against the violation of our rights to due process. The bad news is that the wheels of justice often grind slowly, but as Lanny said, the good news is that the moral arc of the universe tends towards justice. And as evidence, we can look no further than this board's proclamation supporting Juneteenth and the affirmation of civil rights for all. Thank you.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I will answer a couple things real quick. Larry, I think when Janelle was here, she had explained that there definitely was an error, per se, based on the fact that we used a number, did the budget, and it has been part of the process that they've used that they have not updated that, only because there's never really that big of a swing. You did make a comment about new assessments. We don't know when they come online, but they can come online at any time. Matter of fact, I heard from a resident today who was a little annoyed that even though their house isn't completed in building, they got a partial assessment. So that could happen commercial, that could happen residential. That's part of what the law is for assessment review. We have looked at it, and it was an unfortunate error in the calculations, without a doubt. And I think we realize that the tax implication to the levy never changed, though. That was the point. The money coming into the levy changed, and that's what fluctuated the tax number. I don't like the fact that that happened. Usually it happens the other way because things come online. I don't think the town has ever seen a certiorari like that, and it was unfortunate because it was totally out of our control. It was a court in Texas based on a bankruptcy by the company that had owned the mall previously. And they went back and clawed that money back, and the bankruptcy court, for whatever reason, decided that that was the assessment back then. So not great. We will definitely look at it. I know that part of the thing is we wanted to look at the law. We've asked Adam to look into it. Is that a state? Is that a town? Is that something that we can adjust to? Because when we start the process of the budget, it's really a 4 to 5 month project. And it would be quite detrimental to our department heads to go turn around and tell them, okay, you need to rework everything else out. But we should look and see, hey, is there a flux that needs to be addressed? And that's what we're looking at, a system to do that. We're looking at something that's been, a standard operating procedure in the town, and we will, as we've looked at a lot of things this board has that have been being dealt with for 40, 50, 60 years, we will continue to try to change things, move them forward, whether it's through updating laws, updating technology, updating the tools that our employees utilize, such as the police department, our fire, our ambulance. That's been a very, very transparent thing that we've spoken about, and we will keep moving on that issue.
Ed, real quick, on that note, Janelle explained just for the people that are watching, Janelle explained last week, she uses March because that's where she draws a line in the sand. And she has a budget that she has to work on for months. She has to go through audit, she has to go through the budget. And so they've been using March deadline for forever.
Well, it's actually,
So-
it's literally the April 1st assessment, which is drawn in March. As she said, it's the only time in the town that the assessor, the tax collector, and finance all have the same number.
So maybe we need to do something about the law.
Well, that's what we're looking to see what the best
Ed
thing.
was
But
just saying.
even if there is a law change, something that big needs to be noted, and we need to make sure that that's looked at in more of a value. We're hoping that this year we'll be seeing some ratables coming on in the middle of the fall, and that'll actually help us. But thank you for pointing it out, and we are working on it. And we will continue to make sure we improve the systems that have been there. I will speak briefly about the concerts. As Howard pointed out, the Lions concerts, which are in conjunction with the town, start on Sunday, June 29th, I believe it is, which is the last day of the Fireman's Carnival, which is the Fireman's Parade is Wednesday the 26th. There is a poster hanging up on the board by the door. If anyone wants to take a picture, it has a whole schedule, 6 concerts. I see a lot of people that have been to those concerts and have a great time at them. So, yes, I know you do, Howard. We have a Luke Bryan band starting it off. We have two local bands, Class Action and Andrea and the Armenian Rug Riders. We have Sir Elton. We have Stevie Mac. And we have Dance Party Explosion. All the concerts start at 6 o'clock except the last one, which is Class Action on August 24th, I believe it is. And that starts at 5 because we have our military tribute concert, and we have Alyssa Martin doing a command performance type concert, and her dad thinking that he's Bob Hope with their comedy routine. But it's a great time. Susan, I'll let you address the other things afterwards. Lonnie, you're right, and I look at it a little differently. And in the business sense, we always try to build a culture. It's really easy when you're small, when you're starting, and as you get bigger and bigger, it's much harder to build that culture. The culture of civil rights took a long time to build because there were many people who didn't believe in it. You had, a much different party in the South of Democrats that believed in slavery, that went to war for it, and it took a long time to change that. I do remember going down to Raleigh-Durham back in, I want to say it was 1984 or 85. Oh, no, it was 86 because the Mets were in the World Series, as you know, Ronnie. It was in 86, and I went to the Raleigh-Durham State Fair with a friend, and I was amazed because down there was more integrated couples at that time than you were seeing in New York. So there was definitely a shift. There was definitely people that were realizing that, and it was great to see. But now the culture has its hiccups. I look at the anti-Semitism in particular, and it's being taught on our college campuses. It's rampant. You have, we spoke about peaceful protests, Michael, and unfortunately some of those protests weren't peaceful. In L.A., they're burning buildings, they're burning cars. In New York, they're throwing Molotov cocktails at people. That's not peaceful, and it's not the way to protest. And we have to understand, and I think we spoke about this earlier in the press conference. There are laws that need to be upheld, and those laws dictate that there are penalties when they're broken. And once we stop with laws, we have anarchy, and we really need to do that. And somewhere along the line, the legal system has slipped. The cashless bail systems that they never looked at and revised in New York State are horrible. Not being able to communicate with law enforcement is horrible. We actually caught a murder suspect within 2 hours because we were able to communicate through the real-time crime with the FBI. When you stop communicating, it's dangerous to the citizens that are around. So we may not necessarily agree with what the laws say, and that's where you run for office. You could change laws. That's where you could run for higher office and the other things that affect. But we do have the law, and while it's on the books, we need to follow it. Or, as I said before, if there's something that you think might need to be changed, you change it. We need to be concerned about safety, though. We need to be concerned about the recidivism rate. It's horrible. I know. I worked with a group of youngsters who had trouble, and one kid told me the worst thing that ever happened is they slapped me on the wrist and let me back out. When he finally got his life together was when he had to do some time, and it doesn't happen with everyone, but it woke him up. It changed his life, and now Tomaine is a leader in not only trying to work with youth in their behaviors, their dress, how they respond, but he also works with affordable housing in the city, trying to help people understand not only the need for the affordable housing, but the people getting the affordable housing. What is your responsibility to your landlords? What do you need to do to make sure that we facilitate people being able to get apartments, not where you're ostracized because of the activities of another person? And it's a huge topic. We need a lot of reform on a lot of these different issues, and that's where when people move up the line, you hope that they could get to that and they could see that reform. And the reform needs to be done with a balance, not just all one way or all the other way. And unfortunately, there are times in New York where I feel that it's all gone one way. And hopefully those things will change. Susan, did you want to address Howard? Thank you.
Yeah, first I'd like to address Larry's comment, and I can't believe some of the responses that I heard from this board. It is so simple. There's a county law. You cited the number. I don't remember the exact number. That says, because Westchester County is different as part of the whole state in terms of how we collect taxes, and we have to follow the county law. And it says that when we do the assessment, when we do the budget, we use the September 15th number, period. End of story, all right? And what Janelle said last week was, no, we're going to use that outdated March number, all right? Because we've always done that. Well, maybe we've always done that, and who knows, it may have been done that way when I was supervisor. I honestly don't know, okay? And if you did, then I made a mistake, all right?
Yeah.
So I would acknowledge a mistake that I made almost a decade and a half ago, right? But the law is the law, and it says September 15th. This has nothing to do with the levy. It has nothing to do with what the department heads do with their budget. It has nothing to do with the tools that we use, okay? It is a law that says we use the September 15th number. And even in the budget, it says in a very small footnote at the bottom of that one page that has all of the funds, and it says, and it will change from September 15th, which is the date that the assessor files with the state. There are two factors that will change after that, between September and the following March, because there are some legal proceedings called SCAR, which is Small Claims, I guess, Assessment Review, I think that's what it stands for, that have to go through courts. So that is pending. We don't know that. And then if people die between September and March, and you might lose the veteran might die, so the veteran's exemption is lost, or a new veteran applies. So those are the two changes that would change in the assessed value from September when it's filed and the following March. We have to follow the law. The law is the law, and you can't say, well, we've always done it that way. Well,
Susan,
if we're wrong,
I'm
that's
sorry.
the end of the story.
Susan, I already said I specifically asked our attorney to look into it to see if we could change it. If not, we go that way. I already said that. And I will say, thank you for pointing it out, the county and the state added exemptions onto the roll, which did hurt us a little more.
That's the change from September. So we should know when we have a number in September, that is the number that should be used when we do the budget. It has nothing to do with the levy, okay? The assessed value factors in when we decide what the tax rate is. It has nothing to do with the levy. The levy is whatever the department heads and what the town board decides that they're going to raise, all right? So let's just deal with and follow the law. And we can change a Westchester County law.
Well, that's what I asked Adam to look into
All
to
right,
make sure.
all right.
But thank you.
Howard, in terms of sewers, I don't think I ever said you didn't have a right to speak. Of course, you always have a right to speak, okay? What I said was that I think 80 to 90% of the residents in Yorktown pay taxes, and there are 8,100 who pay sewer taxes, all right? And you, as a renter, did not pay a sewer tax. So this is not important to you, but it is important to the 8,100 other taxpayers. That's what I said. And if the sewer taxes go up for your landlord, for the owner of your house, okay, then they might change the rent because his utilities will go up. So it does indirectly impact you for whatever. And if it's going to go up in the water bill, and I don't know how you pay, I don't know how your utilities are paid for, all right? But so it's more indirect. But this is something that affects 8,100 taxpayers. Some of them are paying over $1,000 a year for taxes. If the town board has now decided that they're going to change the rate that the people who are on sewers pay on their water bill, which they haven't officially taken any action on it, but the water bill is going to increase. So this is important to know. And as I said earlier when I talked about the Halleck's Mill Sewer Extension, if you're on a septic system, you're lucky. You don't have a septic system. But anyone who has a septic system, and maybe a failing septic system, it ain't fun. Believe me, it ain't fun. And when they have to know, do I have to spend $10,000 to fix up my system? And they're going to have to do that. Otherwise, they're going to be in problems, okay? And then, but if I spend $10,000 today, and then next year I'm going to be in a sewer district, and then we're going to have all that charge, well, should I not do the $10,000 today? What, do I wait until tomorrow? Some of these people have been waiting for years and years and years and don't know what to do, and that's why I keep talking about that. And there are two other issues on the agenda tonight that deal with sewers. They're separate but related, and that's why I will talk about that, because this is important to 8,100 taxpayers. So talk and say whatever you want. The other issue about, I'm not even sure what Sergio was talking about, frankly, when he said that I didn't respond to
I could
him.
clarify.
But also I can say
Thank you for the laugh.
that I've asked Sergio to get in touch with me about something that he's supposed to do, that he's supposed to be, quote, looking into, and he hasn't responded to me, but I'm not making an issue about that.
So let's try to turn it around on me when you
But you turned it on me.
Excuse me, I was very respectful, right? You're the one that accused the board of having a secret meeting, conspiring. So you're sitting there and you keep glancing over it and you keep changing the subject, which tells me you knew that you were wrong when you non-factually, and Howard, thank you for pointing that out. But you accused me of conspiring and having a secret meeting to set the water rates. I mean, you know how ridiculous that was? Not to mention it was really non-factual. So I asked you, to tell me when I had this secret meeting. And then you kept changing the subject. You kept talking about something else. So now you want to deny it. While we're in the realm of admitting our mistakes, why don't you admit you can make noises and you can make faces. You will not bully me. It's funny. They accuse me. You're the one that tries to bully everybody. So, and you could laugh and you could say, oh, like that's what you said. And the last time you told me it's just words and all of this other stuff. But to be quite honest, it's been 90,720 minutes since I asked you a question. What secret meeting did I have? It was very simple. I asked you very calmly. I even got accused of saying that I was, out of my mind when I asked you. I wasn't. You could go back and watch the video. I just would like to know. And if you can't answer the question, and I know you can't because it didn't happen, then just say you can't answer the question. You misspoke. Admit it. Instead, you continue on this track where you just want to, like, you know, get these moments and you're blurting things out that are just not true. And you know, you say I didn't get back to you. You're right. I will speak to you in public with other people because you twist people's words. You make things up. You do not tell people the accurate stuff. And so
God bless.
my mechanism is, no problem, I'll speak to you anytime you want, as long as there are other people around, so you cannot make these things up because you have a history of doing that. And that's it. That's the bottom line. And you're making fun, you're huffing and puffing. They can't hear you in public, and you're making these little noises over there. You could do that. It doesn't matter to me. I know the truth. I think everybody else knows the truth by your lack of response. And so if you want to glance over it and say, oh, whatever, you can. It's okay. But the public knows the truth. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, look, I don't want to prolong all of this, but just let me give you a little sense of, anyone who knows me, and before I came on this board, I was very often making comments about open meetings and discussions that the town board should have had in an open meeting, because they would come here and they would make decisions, and it had never been discussed. There had been resolutions that had never been discussed, but they just voted on it. When I got to the town board meeting, all right, we meet in executive session an hour before we come down here. Sometimes the discussion is a very legitimate topic. The state open meetings law identifies very specific topics. We just, this evening, we interviewed somebody for a position on an advisory board, a legitimate topic. We spoke to the town attorney about a pending legal issue, legitimate topic. Sometimes the topics kind of get into this gray area. Sometimes I will say, colleagues, that's an open session item. We shouldn't talk about it. We stop. Facetiously, we had a little slow time today, and somebody talked about, can I talk about the Mets and the Yankees? And I said, absolutely, I don't care about that. We had another discussion about a legislative issue that honestly, I have to say, should have been in an open session discussion. There's a grayish area, and I don't want to be an obstructionist in the hour that we talk upstairs. So sometimes I'm a little flexible, and sometimes I think in one of those meetings we talked about the changes in how we allocate the sewer charges. All right, because that's an issue that I've been pushing.
So you were part of the conversation of the meeting that you said the town board had without
Well,
you? Wait a minute, hold on a second.
No, I didn't.
You just,
Serge,
I'm going to wait,
Serge,
I'm going to
Serge,
wait.
done.
This is
Please.
crazy.
And I also, under the open meetings law, it is legal for the 4 people here who are Republicans for them to meet in a political caucus, and they can discuss town business. That is absolutely legal. So they have every right to meet on their own and say, this is what we're going to do. I have no problem with that because it's legal. So if they had a discussion that talked about how they're going to deal with the water rates, because that was one of the issues, and it was apparent in one of these executive sessions when we were discussing that, which should have been in an open meeting. But I can't keep saying, no, stop. I can't be an obstructionist at every meeting we have upstairs. And that's a problem that I have, okay, in terms of getting things moving ahead, all right? It's very difficult
I have something.
because discussions keep merging, all right? It didn't used to be this way when I was a supervisor or when I was just an activist, and we used to, the door used to be open to those meetings, those pre-meetings, okay? It has changed over time, but there are things that can be discussed. So when this thing was discussed about this closed secret meeting, I honestly don't know what Sergio is talking about, and I'm not going to get into now the whole discussion about how I'm making up things. I will let you decide what you feel about that.
All right, so with that being said, Susan.
Let's get on with the meeting, please.
I'm
let's get
talk.
on with it because
I'm
you're
allowed
wrong.
to talk, okay?
All right.
Yeah,
because
let's get on with it.
April 15th, you were the one that came down and said on your report of the officials, you were the one that came down and says, I crossed the gray area. So far, I've been on the board for a year and a half. Nobody has crossed the gray area except for you, okay? And you have it. Everybody go back to the video of the of the reports from the officials, and you were the one sitting right there saying, I might have crossed the gray area. You did.
All right.
So,
guys,
she's not going to sit here and.
No, I understand.
You know what?
Susan, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't
You're
be
gonna point
casting
fingers.
casting
You're gonna,
stones.
you know.
I'm saying it is. All I'm saying is it's difficult. When we have the discussion upstairs, do you want me to talk about?
This is no, you can't.
No, you can't.
I won't. It was a closed session.
How
But
many
how
times?
to proceed on something?
Can we stop with the division, because that's all this is. If you have a comment you want to make to one of us, please feel free to do so. This isn't
I
the
have one more
arena. It's
comment.
not fair to the public. Make your
Yeah.
comments. And let's move on.
But
we have
so
an agenda.
Susan, in her comments, pointed at this board, which was me, 2 seconds ago, and you said the law is the law. You had 4 years as a council person. You had 2 years as a supervisor. You could have fixed the April to September thing. I'm sure we can go back. We can go back to the budgets, and you use the April number. I'm sure. So
I said if I made a mistake,
and Janelle came up last week and says, this is the number because all the stars align, and she draws a line in the sand, and she works from that number forward. Anything after that thing gets captured in the following year. We all agreed that it needs to be looked at because we have a $1 million mistake, we'll call it, okay?
800,000.
So we all agreed it needs to be looked at. So when you get up there and say, this board, it was directed at me, and I'm just telling you, you had 6 years because the law is the law. You were screaming at everybody, the law is the law. You could have fixed it in the 4 years as a councilwoman, in the 2 years as a supervisor, okay?
I wasn't
I
on the
just-
council for 4
excuse me,
years. I was only on the
was-
council for 1 year, so let's get that
I was
straight.
extremely patient, and I didn't speak over you, so I would like an opportunity to speak very briefly. So now I come to find out that this secret meeting that you accused me of, you were there. So, and you participated in it. You actually just told everybody you did. But when you accused me and the rest of us, you failed to mention that you were there as well, and it wasn't a secret meeting anyway. We were in closed session. You say that you stop us all the time from crossing the line. How many times have I said to you, I don't think that's a closed session item? Because you crossed the line. See, you're okay with discussing something that you want to discuss, whether it's closed session or not, when it interests you. But if everybody else does it, then you come out in public and you accuse us of things that really didn't happen. So I'm sorry. I'm just really, really shocked. And now you're trying to say you don't even know what you were talking. I never said anything. It's on tape. It's on video. You could go and look it up. And I'm going to end my comments on there. But I will tell you, if you're going to accuse me of something, just have the facts. Because I'm not going to accept it. And it's not right. And it's not okay. And yeah, sometimes we stray and we correct our course. It's normal. We're in the middle of a conversation. Conversations go all sorts of ways sometimes. But it's not intentional. It's not malicious. It's not in secret. You were there. You accused the 4 of us of being in a secret meeting when you were in the meeting yourself, but you left yourself out. Right? So, I mean, it's just not right. So, thank you. I appreciate it. 90,720 minutes later, you still didn't answer the question. Because you can't.
All right.
'Cause it
I'm
didn't
just
happen.
going to let the public decide.
Thank you.
what they want.
And I'm just
Get
going to
down
move
town
on.
business.
All right, so we're going to open up, we're going to convene a public hearing for 2258 Sawmill River Road for a SWIP for the Ballin property. We have some letters here. We have DEP, no objections to the town board being lead agency. For this action, DEP does not maintain any discretionary regulatory authority over the proposed activity. As such, DEP has no further comments on the action. Hi, John. Mr. Taggart, if you want to come up too. And we have from the town planning board, I guess there was a determination of legal status of the lot. Apparently, another letter here talks about the fact that this lot was established by deed instead of a subdivision before the subdivision laws of, I want to say it was 1966, and the subdivision or the deeding was 1962, which happened beforehand, so the laws would not be binding on this property. Also, the town recognized it as a property in a foreclosure back in the day when Frida was in here. We have county planning, no objections to lead agency status. They have some conversations with Croton Watershed Protection, DOT review, and stormwater management that they had wanted to see. I don't have an update on this from April 29th, I believe. And Joe, you'll talk to that if you can when we're done. We have Abaca with no problems. We have Tree Advisory that are happy with the comments of the Conservation Board memo dated 6/11 and have no objection to the permit being granted with that. June 11th, the Conservation Board had asked for some stuff in previous memo dated May 12th, and they wanted a detailed tree inventory, mitigation plan, and rain garden planting as requested. They now have this. They're satisfied the plan submitted and presented, have no objection to the permit being granted. However, we recommend the tree commission who already commented, so that's good. They do need a highway work permit on this for entrance into the site off of 202, and that's probably the DOT stuff. And that's conservation earlier. We have site design and
Read the site design, please. The one
read the
about-
site design from May 30th.
I think that's the date, the one about the mitigation and the
You
trade-off.
mean the mitigation that the conservation board's happy with?
Yeah,
May 30th.
Yeah.
30.
Okay, you want to hear what, the mitigation plan?
Well, I'm going to comment on it, so, you know, I can talk about it later.
You could
I'll
talk about it during the hearing, yep. All right, oh, and here's that law. March 1st, 66 was the division of any parcel being part of a subdivision. There's some laws on it, and this land was transfer of ownership to be considered a subdivision, and I believe it was 1962 that this happened. Created by deed in 1962. And that is from their attorney, I guess, Michael Grace. All right. Thank you, Diana.
Good evening, Joseph Freeman, Principal Site Design Consultants, representing the Balan family who own a property at 2285 Solomon River Road. Mr. Balan is here with us this evening. And they are proposing to construct a new residence on this vacant lot. This lot sat vacant for an extended period of time because access to sewers was not available, and it was septics were not possible on this property. So this is the parcel. It's a flag lot. As you correctly stated, it was created in 1962 by deed. A variance was obtained in 1986 for lack of frontage. And at that time, we believe that the zoning board established that this was a buildable lot. So, as you can see by the plan in front of you, there's a driveway extending back to the proposed house site. It conforms in every aspect to the zoning requirements as far as setbacks, height, etc. For stormwater, there's a rain garden proposed that will take all the impervious area and treat and store the impervious area, so there will be no increase in surface runoff to any of the adjoining properties. We are here before the board tonight for an MS4 permit for stormwater excavation and tree removal. So in order to make this possible, a public sewer is being extended from the south in what was formerly known as the Spano subdivision. Easements have been granted, health department approval has been obtained to extend the public sewer to the property. Go back to give you a better sense of that, the green line represents where the sewer will be running. So, in order to construct the home and the sewer, 33 regulated trees will be required to be removed. Of the 33 trees, 23 of them will be part of the removal of the installation of the sewer. The other 10 will be for the driveway and the house site. To mitigate the tree removal, we are proposing 18 trees to be planted on the house site, and we are making the suggestion that the fact that we're installing a public sewer, which will provide immediate access to 11 homes to public sewers, and has a potential for another 6 if the sewer is extended at a later date. There's an easement through the back of the Balan property so that it can be continued. That's an offsetting mitigation factor for the trees that have to come down.
Is that the green line, Joe?
That's the green line, correct. So as you had stated, we have been to the planning board. The planning brought up a concern about the creation of the lot and the tree mitigation aspect of the project, which I think that's been responded to in the letter from Michael Grace regarding his research of the town code, and that since the lot was created before the zoning ordinance, I'm sorry, the subdivision ordinance was created, that it is in fact a legal building lot. Then we met with conservation and prepared the tree inventory plan as well as the mitigation plan, which addressed the other concerns that were in the planning board memo to the town board. And as you stated, the conservation board was satisfied with our proposed mitigation as well as the tree committee.
Okay, Susan, you had questions about the tree?
Well, if the public wants to talk first, then I'll make comments.
Sure. John, do you have anything to add to the
Actually, I just want Joe to, the first thing I have is if he would explain, I think you mentioned the zoning board established this as a building lot. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, Michael Grace, the attorney's interpretation of the zoning board variance also would give the impression, or that's the impression that he had, that they're also recognizing this as a building lot.
So
otherwise they would not have issued.
So you're trying to say if they didn't consider a building, why give it?
Right, then they would not have issued a variance. I guess that's the line of thinking on that.
What variance do they issue? I wasn't aware of that.
A frontage variance. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great, thanks. And so there's a letter from Michael Grace, which states what? I don't have
You
benefit
haven't
of
seen
it. No, I have not.
It states, there's talk about the fact that the law for subdivision went in at 66, that this was done by deed in 62, so pre-existing the law. There was also some comments about lot size changing. Diana's pulling it out if you'd like to.
Okay. So regardless of the zoning board's variance, they don't establish legal building lots. And I don't think the fact that the lot ended up in foreclosure nevertheless does not establish a legal building lot. that being said, if the section that states the March 1st, 1966, if town council agrees with that, then my recommendation and request would be that in your resolution, you cite this as the reasoning that that you're going forward and that you believe it's a legal building lot. That would be helpful for our efforts going forward.
Sure.
I mean, I got this letter today. I'm going to look at the law. Facially, it seems to make sense to me, but I think you could proceed, close, so we can get an
No,
opinion.
we'll proceed,
Yeah.
and we don't have to make a decision tonight. We could get that. So, and all right. So we can open the floor to public comment on this.
Hi, my name is Jenny Sunshine, longtime Yorktown resident. I wanted to just speak on this particular developmental issue because I've had friends that alerted me about this project because... Oh, sorry. All right, thank you so much. I'm short. Okay. I had friends that alerted me about this project because it is going to take down 33 trees. And there are people that I don't live near this development, but there are other people that I do know that live in there in that area, and they're very concerned about it for a variety of reasons. But I wanted to just come tonight and talk more about the trees because I haven't been here in quite some time. But that's a passion of mine, as we know. And I just wanted to, anytime Yorktown takes down trees, which it's very frequent that happens now, especially in the last, say, 10 years, because Yorktown loves development and they say yes to everything. They love development, they want it, and they take down the trees. So I just wanted to also remind everybody all the recent projects that have happened that have done that. So I live near Hill Boulevard, so you've got the solar array over there, which took down an entire forest of trees on the top of Hill Boulevard not too long ago. And then now also you have the Toll Brothers development on Catherine Street that will be taking down certainly hundreds of trees, that's for sure. There's the Guiding Eyes for the Blind development that's right across the street from Trader Joe's on 202. And that, as we can all see, it took down definitely hundreds and hundreds of trees. Atlantic Appliance took down 5 acres of trees right near the post office around the block from here, hoping to build their new building. Unicorn Development, as we know, across Caddy Corner to us, took down 500 trees. And this is all very recently, all of these things. So the thing of it is about trees is that when you add them all up, it's a canopy that that's very important, and they all kind of add up together. I realize this development's only 33 trees, but it really does matter because trees are one of the most important things that natural entities that we have. And if you go to other neighborhoods, like I've said many times before, you'll see that there's plenty of trees and plenty of old, big, beautiful trees. And the only way trees get really old and big and beautiful is if you leave them alone. Leave them alone. They will grow very large and they will be exceptional and gorgeous. And we all want houses that are near. I understand trees fall and they can be dangerous, but also they can be majestic and incredible if you do have a larger piece of property. Other reasons why trees are important include the fact that they provide shade and can cool land under them up to 20 degrees. And when we have global warming at this point and other climate issues, it's kind of really important to have trees that can help us cool our properties without too much energy being expelled. They provide open space. They're absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, trees can be used as a screen, so it creates privacy for people. It makes our property values higher when we have a lot of trees. It's important for everybody's mental health to have a lot of trees in their vicinity. They always say every professional will tell you to take a walk in nature when you're feeling anxiety. So it's very important to have trees for that. Habitat. If you don't like roadkill, don't cut the trees down. There's no place for the animals to go if they don't have their forests. And, you know, everybody has deer in their neighborhoods that wander through the various open space areas, which is very, very important to have. Trees also keep soil in place, and especially on slopes, so that's actually really important not to cut trees down on hills. They clean our air, they provide oxygen, and they mitigate flooding. So it's definitely smart to keep trees if you have a flooding issue, which many properties in Yorktown do. The other issue is that when you develop properties and you put in landscaped things, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of chemicals to keep landscaped properties looking nice. So, not only weed whackers and, cutting down all the pollinator, bushes and those sorts of things that keep our bees and butterflies going, and pollinators, which are very good for our entire ecosystem. But a lot of fertilizers are put on properties like that. And listen, I know you care about chemicals because you made a whole thing about fluoride. So I know you care about chemicals and what goes in our body. But I also know that they also put a lot of pesticides on landscaped properties. So when you have a lot of developments, what's also present is not only runoff from that could be polluted in various ways, but you also have pesticides, including Roundup, which absolutely causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and is sold in most all of the stores around here. Unfortunately, I wish that could be banned. Personally, I feel that way. I want to say a few other things. So, yeah, I don't agree with any of the trees being cut down on this property, or at least they should be a lot less cut down. They need to rework their design in such a way that they could cut down less trees. That would be ideal, if at all possible. Make a smaller development or work your way around the trees, do something creative. I want to say this, that I really, really wish that, because it's best for the people of Yorktown. The people of Yorktown are really important, and we've been through a lot, and we really need to keep at least the beauty of our town intact. And, the other thing, too, is there's a lot of developments that are coming down the pike that are going to take down lots more trees. Along Route 6, where I live, down at the far end of Yorktown, possible developments include removing most of the trees down 6N and right around Curry Street and Route 6, which would be devastating for me anyway, and I know a lot of my friends and my family that lives near there. But I just want to say this. I wish Yorktown would have a moratorium on tree cutting and maybe slow down development, looking into the near future. And certainly require that landowners, developers create more of a buffer zone and make it mandatory that they set aside a bunch of land that is natural in the middle of their project. Go ahead and do your project, but then offer more, like 20, 50 feet, 75 feet of natural landscape. That's what you have in other towns that surround us, is you have those buffer zones of raw land, that's where animals can go. That's where your habitat can go when you have your development. And that, again, provides privacy and the natural land that is also most healthy for us as humans, too, and provide less runoff and so forth. And I want to say one more thing, and that is I'm very afraid. Like I said, I really care about the people of Yorktown, and I really care about our health also, like you guys do. We're on our way. If we don't cut it out with the development in Yorktown the way we've been going, okay, fine. You're going to do what you want to do. Okay, that makes you happy to do all your development. But the issue is that what are we going to end up with? What are we going to end up with? Okay, we're going to end up with traffic, choked traffic, which we already have all over this town, and it's getting worse every single day. We're going to get our sewer system and our water infrastructure is not even, I don't think, can handle what we want to do for what you guys want to do. for further development. Certainly our schools are going to be choked and crowded even more, and we're going to have to build more schools. And it's just not healthy. You know, this is not what we signed up for. We didn't sign up. We signed up to have a beautiful historical town. That's what my husband grew up in our town, and in my house. And that's what my in-laws, you know, moved here in 1967 to enjoy. And that's slowly changing. And so many of my friends and my family are really, really sad and upset that Yorktown is going in that direction. So I really wish that we could just cut it out with the development, or everybody just, come on, be smart, be wise, have some empathy, care about your neighbors, care about what you're planting, use less pesticides, use less fertilizer, less development, and because I do think that we can have it all. We can do that, and we can do developments, but just more buffer zones, preserve the nature that we still have, because that also goes hand in hand with the history, which I also love. We need to keep the history goes hand in hand with the nature that we have. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Elon Gilbert, former town supervisor. I don't know whether the board has given all the I'm not necessarily opposed to this project, but there are a lot of issues that will unfold. It's almost like sometimes, you know, what is it, an onion, when you take over the layers and everything. And if you look at the project just directly as it is, it's you couldn't ask for a better example of a flag lot. I mean, it looks like, it's a flag. But I was puzzled by the extension, the sewer line, and why, obviously, it's not the property owners, I believe, property that sewer line is going to run through, and why we're seeing why the property owners who are allowing that sewer line to run through. And it's, I was speaking with John Tegeter just to get some quick information. And I understand one of the benefits that you should keep in mind is evidently some of those homes are on septic, and they will be able to link into the sewer. So that's a positive. But I think it also, you should be aware that you may not just be approving this one construction site. By them running that sewer line there, you might open that whole area up to an additional maybe 3, 4 additional flag lots. So just be aware. I'm just asking that keep that in mind before you make a decision on this particular property, because it will have ramifications in the future. Thank you.
Any other comments?
My name is Nicole Johns. I live next door to this lot, and just reviewing all the paperwork, the one thing that stuck out is the May 9th board referral, where it says, and you said it yourself, this was not likely a legal building lot under the town code, and it wouldn't be able to have septic. So but you have, I couldn't find anything. I'm not really familiar with this process that sort of linked that, right? So that this is what we assume this lot was never a legal building lot, but fast forward 60 years now, because we're going to run a sewer line. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. So how are we, where is the legal document tying that to this project?
The connection is it's a DEC wetland.
Okay.
And in the area, and they would not let them put another septic in there.
Okay.
So that might be one of the reasons it was never built. If I'm not mistaken, I said we needed to research it, which is some of the information that was going on. So we can assume whatever we want to assume, but the research had to happen, and that's why the applicant hired an attorney to look into some of the stuff. I know our tax assessor looked into it. So it's been looked into by different people. And what you find from the history and going through that is what could bring out the discrepancies in what was back then, what the DEC would allow, and now what they would allow now based on being able to put a sewer in there.
So so the sewer line is a separate project, really, but this lot.
The sewer line would be part. The only way they could get their Board of Health, authorization is to have sewer, not septic. So the sewer line would be a part of that. It would also end up benefiting, I think the number was 11 houses that could hook up to it.
So all the houses like behind.
Yeah,
here.
and then a possible additional 6 houses if they chose to extend the sewer line to their area.
Those
Okay.
houses are existing.
Yeah.
And they have to pay, or that's funded by the town, or who is?
No,
you know?
they would have to
They
pay.
would
So
pay into it.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, they would have
so
to pay
so
into it.
yeah.
But I think what she's saying is, on here it states it's not buildable because in that area, they've only had septic.
Right, that's where I'm-
DEC
right.
deemed it not buildable due to the fact that you couldn't add another septic.
Okay.
It was never omitted, or was it clear that in the event someone decides to make a huge investment and run a sewer, that it would change it from buildable to not buildable? And that's where you're looking for that link of
I'm
like,
not finding the link. And the line, this line is going to
sewer
be,
line.
the sewer line is going to be funded by the
Homeowner.
homeowner.
The builder,
Okay.
the person
okay.
that wants to build here.
Okay.
And then that,
And
and
they
everyone's
say-
individual hookup will be on them, but he'll have the ability, because he's bringing the main.
Okay, no, and I'm just curious, I was going through the paperwork, I'm not that familiar with the process. So I was just looking to see that link where it would be a buildable lot. And I did wanna, in terms of, I agree, I mean, I think the town progress, we see that, there's stuff going up on every corner. I'm not seeing the preservation. I do think actually it was 50 trees, for this total, you have to go through all the paperwork. But they're planting 18, so there's.
You need to
Oh, I'm
address
sorry.
the board. That's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I apologize.
That's all right,
I was
Nicole.
just,
Yeah.
so it's hard to follow because there's a lot of amendments. But I'd love to see the preservation because there's just a tremendous amount happening very, very quickly. And I'm curious, like, if there's been studies besides the environmental, the traffic. I mean, there's a lot of concerns in there. And
I'll address some of that when we go through
So
this.
anyway, in relation to this, so thank you. That's all the questions I had.
No problem.
Thank
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Okay, I have some comments.
Well, we can close the public.
No, well, I'd like my comments to be part of the public hearing,
Oh.
right?
Yes, yes.
It's
We
going
can't
all,
clo-
it's
we're not
going all
clo- we're not
night.
closing
We've been
that.
commenting all night. Yeah. Always. That's what I'm saying. So I didn't know whether the chicken or the egg, whatever.
First,
If the comments from the public are done, you should close the hearing.
Yes.
Lonnie, we don't have cross conversation thing.
Well-
So
Talking to my clients.
I'll hear Susan's comments and then we'll
right.
Thank
go
you.
from there.
Let me say I am the liaison to the Tree Commission and the Conservation Board, and I have tremendous respect for the people who serve on those boards, okay? But I disagree with their support for the lack of mitigation in this case. Let me also say that I have no problem supporting this development. I'll accept the legal interpretation that it's a legal lot. Jenny, like you, I don't like cutting down trees, but you have to cut down trees to allow things to happen and for progress. And a property owner has a right to develop their property according to the current zoning, right? Some of you may not know that when I was supervisor, it was during my administration that the town board passed a very innovative tree law. Yorktown's, I think it was the first tree law. And it was innovative in that we included the concept of mitigation. We accepted the fact that trees had to be cut down to make way for houses, for stores, for sewers, for stormwater, for whatever reason. But you had to mitigate for that loss. And the law was very flexible, and you had a whole litany, a whole menu of options of how you could mitigate. You could do things like replant on the site. If that's not possible, in many cases it's not possible. You could do off-site mitigation. The developers of the property here in 118, okay, their tree mitigation is actually to remove some invasive species on the Ohansick Trailway. You could also do repair work along stream banks. It's a very open-ended what mitigation has to be. And if you can't do anything else, you contribute money into a tree fund. But in no way is creating a sewer line mitigation for cutting down trees. That just makes a mockery of the whole concept of mitigation, and it opens the door up to weakening what was the major contribution that Yorktown made in 2010, okay? And we had that law on the books. It was repealed in roughly 2016 with a very weak mitigation, and many in this community fought hard to get a new law passed, and it was during, Lanny, during your time, that we got a stronger law with mitigation. And it has worked, and it has been working since 2010. And to weaken it now just because he's putting in a sewer line, and if anyone in this community supports sewers, it's got to be me, all right? So I support that, but making an allowance for 11 sewer connections is in no way mitigation for cutting down trees, whether it's 20 or 30 or 40, all right? So in that regard, I think it is a total travesty. It's a travesty of the mitigation concepts of our tree law to allow that. And I have no problem supporting the stormwater permit, all right? But I think it is wrong to allow that, and I totally disagree with Conservation Board and the Tree Commission, on that. And I will, when it comes to a vote, I know it's very difficult to separate out a stormwater permit from a tree permit, so I probably will have to abstain, because I feel so strongly that this is a travesty to the mitigation concepts in the tree law, which is one of the strongest features of our tree law. And it also sets a terrible precedent for other people to come in now and say, look, I'm bringing a sewer line, I'm doing stormwater, I'm bringing this road, okay, I'm building housing and you want housing, and housing is a benefit to this community. Or I'm building stores, okay, and stores are going to increase our assessed value, and that's a benefit to the community. So that's my mitigation. It doesn't make sense, and it's not what the mitigation concept in the tree law was.
Thank you. So, wait for Diana. So, make a motion to close the,
Just hold on to that. Can I just ask that you adjourn, because we have an issue on his application, which says 2258. On his other thing, it says 2285. So we believe it's 2285, but it's on the agenda as 2258, so I'd like to renotice that before you close the public hearing.
It's 2285, right?
I know what it is.
Oh, sorry.
But we have different
You're saying on-
applications. So we have 2285 on one thing,
All right.
2258 on the other.
I have no problem closing it.
So, well, I do, so I'd like to renotice.
I thought I was the attorney.
renotice on
Well-
the wrong, on number being wrong on our,
We'll renotice it to be the correct
oh,
one.
you
So it's
noticed
just
it wrong?
adjournment.
What did you
No,
notice
no,
it
no.
on?
Well, our notice is correct in the paper.
Right.
However, his paperwork doesn't match.
Right,
So
but
on
that-
one thing he says on his application, it says 2258. So I'd like to work with Joe to correct it before we close anything out.
So the only thing that's wrong is the application.
I haven't gone through the whole file yet.
Yeah, the 2285 is correct.
Yes.
The
Correct. So the
application-
notice is correct.
But his
Right, so then
application's
it
But your
appar-
application-
apparently it's
Unnecessary.
wrong on there.
Yes, it's not necessary. You can close, no problem.
All right. I will entertain a motion to close.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
With, you
But
close
she
it-
can still
you
renotice
close
it.
With the stipulation.
Suppose it's done.
All
I
right.
don't think we can change he can work on the
I could
application.
change the application.
Yes, they got it. Diana's very, very good at handling her stuff. So I'll talk, first, Susan, you did mention that when you were talking about trees, you also did mention tree mitigation is,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was asking a question.
She's got,
I like questions.
she's got it. You could write it down and ask after. We're addressing the comments. You mentioned stream work was acceptable. So, to me, stream work is not trees.
Stream bank,
Right.
repairing stream bank, which have to, it's a more environmental issue. Now, I know you can say sewers are environmental.
Exactly what I would say.
But
So,
once you start doing that, any development, whether it's residential, commercial, you can say is a benefit to the community. All right?
now, I understand your, I understand your philosophy, but.
It's the meaning and intent, and if you look at the law, if you read the tree law, all right, it's very clear that the mitigation has to be related to that aspect of the environment, to improving stream corridors, okay, to removing the invasives. We've done deer enclosures, exclusions, I think they're called. It could be very creative in what you do. You could plant a street tree someplace else in Yorktown, and that would qualify.
Sure.
All right? But not because you're building a sewer line.
Well, yeah, and my point,
that is
and
just
I
no
will
way.
say my point, which has been my point many times, is we have our boards that well, conservation is advisory, but our boards that are supposed to be separate and distinct from the town board. That's why they're in existence. So with the professionals that we have there, with Diane Dreyer, with Phyllis Bach, I am very, very well satisfied with their assessment on it. So, but I do understand
As
your
I say,
issue.
I have a lot of respect for
Right.
them and for
Yep.
the work that they do. And I don't typically disagree with them, but on this, I absolutely disagree with
And-
both of them.
And I do thank you for bringing up about mitigation plans, and sometimes mitigation is pollinators versus trees. I know Jenny had mentioned that. Did Jenny leave?
She's gone.
Oh. Jenny had mentioned the pollinators, and that's one of the big things with solar fields, is they do pollinators, which do have a very significant value to wildlife. This is a house, not a development. I think she kept saying development. John, you could just let me know, are there any other lots left back there, or is everything part of? Yeah, so I did not think this opens the door to any other buildings when I looked.
Unless
Uh,
some
that-
existing lots are offered to be subdivided.
Right, but that's a, I know you're killing him. So John said, well, no, I shouldn't repeat it because that'll kill Tom back there. John said that if some of the lots are offered for subdivision, but they may not necessarily be able to get the subdivision on that. So that would be up to the boards at that point. She spoke about a project by Curry and Route 6 with a lot of trees, and the only project I think down that way is probably Navajo, which are fields anyway, but we don't even know if that's going to go yet. They have to come for public hearing. And on the buffers, it's a great idea, but unfortunately in some of the lot sizes that we have, it prevents extreme buffering of 50, 75 feet, because some lots are not very deep and they don't offer that much. I will say that it does seem like a lot of things are happening at once, but contrary to belief, these are things that have been through planning and around for probably some of these projects before Susan was on the board 10 and a half years ago, as she stated. Actually, I think it was only 13 years ago, but
15.
Oh, was it 15?
2010 and 11.
Wow.
And I came to board meetings in the 1970s.
Well, yes. They're pictures of you. Long hair, tie-dyed shirts, and knitting.
Knitting, yes, but not tie-dye shirts.
So we, there is planning in Yorktown. We have a planning department. We have a comprehensive plan, which I've been going through again. Thank you, John, for your office getting me a copy. And we are at a precipice where some of these things are moving, and I think that there was a logjam during COVID, especially, where a lot of projects went sort of into the nether, and one of them that was mentioned was Atlantic Appliance, because I specifically remember as a liaison for planning at that time, being on Zoom meetings for that project. But there is a vetting. There is, it goes through different boards, and that is the way our government is set up, which is a wonderful thing. There is mitigation, as pointed out, and that mitigation, I think this might be the first time I've actually heard you speak against a mitigation plan, per se, that's come through conservation, which, you know, just goes to talk about the job they do. And look, if we're not going to agree on everything. I think we, sitting at this table, know that. There's definitely the thought process, though, and yes, it does seem like a lot because a lot is coming through the pike. And one of the other things that prevented a lot of development per se was the fact that we did have a sewer moratorium based on the amount that our plant was able to process. As that got lifted, that did open up a few things in the commercial corridor and especially Front Street, our light industrial. Definite example of a flag lot, Lonnie, but I don't think it opens the line for more development. And yes, the sewer is the key in a project, from my point of view, for how it helps in conservation of our soils and our water. I think that that we have a huge problem with septic, and my plan will hopefully, before I leave office, get some shovels in the ground on some of these projects. We're in the middle of getting some paperwork, required paperwork for $1.2 million that was given to us from DEP, DEC, one of the alphabets, and we're trying to get that in place. Nicole, I think we answered most of your questions. I hope so. If not, please feel free to contact my office. Oh, and the last thing I will talk about is the traffic. I've lived in Yorktown for 30 years. I'm a youngster here compared to Patrick. My mother-in-law, when she moved in here in the 50s, had to wait for the cows to cross 202, where our police station is now, because there were cow pastures on either side of 202. So
different kind of traffic.
Yes, different kind of traffic. So things have changed, but I will say one of the things I noticed in my time in Yorktown is that traffic is not necessarily our cause. It's a cause and effect of, like, when the Cortland Town Center opened, Route 6 became a nightmare. I remember one Christmas where I forgot to buy my wife a gift because Hanukkah was late that year. My wife is Catholic, and I had to try to go from the Cortland Town Center to Macy's and back. It was a 2-hour ordeal. It was horrible, but the Cortland Town Center was creating a lot of that traffic. When Home Depot went in there, that started it. The Bear Mountain interchange that never happened created traffic on 202 that goes to Peekskill. And then we have traffic that goes to Katona, and we have traffic that comes in from Connecticut. So a lot of the traffic is not ours, but one of the things that I think is a responsibility of the board is any project that comes into an area, we take that and we put a onus on those people to mitigate their traffic. And sometimes we try to mitigate it where you go from a failing intersection like we have here to an intersection that'll be rated at a B or a C, hopefully a B by the time it gets done, because it'll be 3 lanes coming out, longer runways, and be able to move traffic 80% faster according to the modeling that they have. So it's our job to say, hey, this is great, but what are you going to do to mitigate that? And that's something that I look at very, very seriously when people come in. And, you know, we have the project on Route 6, AMS, 2 traffic lights to mitigate, 2 traffic lights to make, and timing and longer runways for turn lanes. And these are things that will help us ease that a little bit. But whether we progress and fix, or if we just stand still, that traffic's not going away, and that traffic is getting worse. If we stand still, it doesn't matter. The traffic is going to come. They're building up in Somers. They're building down in Cortland and in Peekskill. And that is all going to affect us. So hopefully our neighbors look at that traffic patterns as well. But we do, and I know I'll give kudos to our planning department and our engineering department because they are very, very well focused on that. And even today, we had a conversation about an old traffic byway. In one of our conversations, it's supposed to be a Route 6 interchange. And, you know, those plans have been there, and whether we could get them to fruition or not is a question. But I will say the one way that we can is if you're going to build there, you're going to make that happen. And that's really one of the things that it's very important for our boards as a whole to look at. And that's why we have the expertise of planning, zoning, engineering. And then it you know, some of those decisions come to us to try to really put the pieces back in place. All right.
So I just got a couple of, you know, basic questions, I guess for you, Joe. So I know that you said that sewer line has all the legalities in place, the easements and all of that kind of stuff, right?
That's correct. The easements are recorded.
And they have their approval and everything?
Health Department approval.
Health Department approval. Is the assumption that the houses that allowed the easements, that sewer line is crossing, that they intend to hook up?
Yes, they will be provided a connection point, a spur to connect.
And it's their intention, I'm assuming it's their intention to hook up, because otherwise why allow the easement, right?
The easement might be existing from a lot of years
No,
ago.
it's, we created the easement.
Oh, you created the whole
Yeah, that's what
Yes,
I
he obtained the easement with the understanding that they would be allowed to connect. And he would provide them a connection point.
So there'll be spurs along the line?
Correct, for those two properties to the south of him, yes.
So,
west of him, rather.
So, but how many houses are there? There's two properties, two houses, or it's
well, the easement is through two properties, actually through three properties. One of them is already connected to the sewer. That's one that's as part of the Spano subdivision.
Okay.
The other two before his property, spurs are going to be put into are going to be installed for those to connect immediately.
Those are two additional houses. Those are two houses.
Two existing houses.
Okay.
Right.
No, I just want to know.
Then his home would connect. Then there's availability to all the homes on Brookside if they want to connect. They have an opportunity if they want to join in while the line is going in and have spurs put in or make a connection, because that's what would be the easiest time to do that. They certainly can.
So and who would they would bear the cost of the spurs?
Correct.
So forget that whole thing. How many spurs are going in? Sounds like 3. Sounds like 3 spurs are going in. That the builder is
just 3 are going in. Correct. Right.
I mean, look. I mean, there's a value with getting the septics. You know, getting rid of septics. I mean, it's just they're just like a necessary evil. But I mean, if we could do something to get those things out of the ground, that'd be. I mean, it's always a plus. I was just hoping that there would be more houses that have already signaled the intention to hook in.
At this point, only those two.
I'm sorry? There are.
Oh,
So
so
you can think of,
they
yeah, but
may
you should
be.
come across on the not. Don't worry about it.
So can you
Don't
come
worry
on now?
No. Move on.
Joe answered.
Yeah.
So there are.
Apparently there are. Yeah.
All right.
I got one quick one. It's just more. I know the mitigation, you know, like Susan said, it seems light compared to the trees. I haven't walked the property, but I've worked in trees for about 20, 30 years of my life. I've taken them down, I've pruned them, I've cabled them, I've fertilized them. You know, so I don't know if when you prune a tree, you got to take trees out so the other ones grow. So I don't know, and I'm assuming the conservation and the tree board has walked the property and do they seem familiar or comfortable with the mitigation plan because of that? You know,
They feel comfortable with it because of the proximity of this neighborhood
and the wetlands
to the Halleck's Mill Brook, right? So all the runoff from this neighborhood goes directly to the Halleck's Mill.
Yeah, right.
So it's, and this neighborhood is known for septic issues and because of high groundwater conditions. So they're aware of that, and they're aware of the number of potential septics that could be taken
can leach out.
offline.
Okay.
So if you had to give me a number of, so part of the mitigation, I think, is my question, and part of the mitigation is the sewer for the trees. The other part is the applicant putting trees up?
Yes, he's planting 18 trees on his property.
He's replanting 18 trees on his property,
Correct.
and he's putting the sewer line in at his expense with
Right.
the spurs,
Right.
for the 3 spurs.
Mhm.
And the total amount of trees that are coming down, there was a little ambiguity, so it's
So
33.
regulated trees, right? Because we don't count diseased or dead trees.
Correct.
Or invasive trees.
Regulated trees, just straight regulated trees.
It's 33.
So out of the 33, he's putting 18. So
Correct.
more than half he's putting back in, plus the sewer.
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
That's what he would like to offer.
I understand. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And if he did the, I can't remember, what is it, $100 per tree?
It would be It would basically be $2,300. I don't know if that makes a difference. You know.
To me, it would make a difference because that would comply with the mitigation requirements of the tree code. I have no problem, and you know I like sewers, so I think sewers are great. But I could just see another subdivision coming in, and they're going to put a sewer line in and take offline 10 septic systems. Great, but that's not tree mitigation because they're going to have to cut down trees. And when you have to build a lot and you have to cut down trees, we just did it on Quinlan, didn't he? He had to do some mitigation. I don't know if you were the engineer for that. Somebody on Quinlan and Luella, corner lot. Okay, just got permission, and we granted. He got probably a stormwater permit and got a tree permit. Okay, but he did mitigation, and he's just on septic. All right, and sometimes you have to take down trees just to even have a septic system. So, but he did the mitigation. I can't remember what his mitigation was. This makes this trading off, considering putting a sewer line in as mitigation for cutting down trees makes a mockery of the mitigation.
But that's only part of the mitigation plan. The other part is that he is putting on trees. So you're saying we're talking about $2,300?
Yeah,
Sewer's going to be a
he's
lot
not
more than
planting.
$2,300.
He's doing 18, so if it's 23 trees, it's that amount of money.
The idea is this
30.
falls under the envelope,
Susan, it was 33,
under
just
the umbrella of environmental impact, right?
Yes.
So we're reducing environmental impact by taking septics off.
I agree with
know,
that.
so
No
that's-
one
So
wants
he's
sewers
taking-
more
he's
than I
taking-
want sewers.
He's taking 33 trees
It's
down.
not tree mitigation.
All right.
He's taking 33 trees down. He's putting 18 up. Right? So, I mean, what are we talking about? 15. So at $100, it's $1,500, not $2,300.
Yeah,
Plus
it's-
the sewer. That's really what we're talking about. That would satisfy Susan's concern.
It's more than
Money,
that.
right?
It's-
If he puts- if he puts
It'll
the
be
money in.
2,600 because you have 300 for the first 5,000 square feet
Of woodland, yeah. Woodland.
So let's move on. We've closed.
Yeah.
We'll wait for decisions till we hear back from Adam on the question, and John, you could help him with the language on that to set that record, so we could look back if that's the case into this and have a clear path forward for some of the others.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks.
All right, from the Office of the Controller, we'll move into resolutions, from the Office of the Town Clerk. Authorize the Town Clerk to refer out and set a public hearing for a proposed local law to consider amending Chapter 300 of the Code Town of Yorktown entitled Zoning regarding breweries by adding a new Section 300-21C 17A5 regarding microbreweries and microdistilleries. I will say there was talk last week about a list that no one could find. The list happened to be right in the existing law. It was just that no one considered the two uses as a list.
I read that today. I saw that, yeah.
So that's okay, John. You're entitled. That's your one for the year. From the Office of the Comptroller, acknowledge the filing of financial statements, supplementary information, and independent auditor's report ending December 31st, 2024 with the town clerk. And we will be having a presentation on the audit next month. Authorize the controller to pay Michael Stigell the cash value of unused time as of his date of resignation as enumerated below, and also to authorize the controller to transfer the funds for the purpose of payout at resignation as enumerated below as well. Good luck to you, Michael, and your family in your new start down south. Authorize a 3-year service agreement with ADP Inc. for payroll software services. We had that presentation last week, finally getting into the 21st century here. From the Office of the Engineer, I don't know, Dan. Order calling for a public hearing for the increase of improvement of facilities of the Halleck's Mills Sewer District and Osceola Sewer District in the town of Yorktown, Westchester County, New York. And this is to call for bonding for the sewer pump stations, which we have a 5.7, Dan?
5.8.
$5.8 million grant on, reimbursable, so we need to have money to do the projects. It'll be afloat, and hopefully we will be able to keep the money coming back in so we're not taking full advantage of the bond.
I have a question about this. Do you want?
Yeah, Dan, you want to come up real quick?
First, I want to say hallelujah. Hallelujah. We got the grant in December of 2021. All right? We're now in June of 2025. Hallelujah to see this going. The next question is two questions. When we got the grant, and that was based on an EDR outside sewer consultant study, that the cost of this was for four pump stations is $7.2 million. I understand that one of the four was rehabbed in-house. That's the first question. Also, there's been some discussion that you wanted to change the plan of what EDR was proposing for that. So, do you have a more current cost estimate? That's the one. That's the first question. Because the 5.8 million, which is set, if that cost, that 7.2 was from 2021, okay, things have kind of gone up since then. So where do we stand on that? And then also the $1 million for Farm Walk, which is not part of that grant, that's going to be paid for by the Osceola Sewer District homeowners. We haven't seen a cost estimate for that. Has EDR provided one for that? And then the next question is, how soon can we expect specs so we can go out to bid? You know me, I like questions. What?
I'm supposed to remember all that?
She said 2 questions and asked like 6, just for the record.
The long and short of it is that the scope of the repairs has changed. EDR originally was taking the approach of completely demolishing what we had. So I sat down with them and we decided to salvage some of the buildings, and the ones especially weren't old. Their approach to completely demolishing some of the facilities really, I didn't think was cost effective. So those budgets came down, and then Farm Walk, what changed over there, we talked to EFC, and Farm Walk actually is is covered under the grant now. And that's why this bond resolution considers both Halleck's Mill and Osceola facilities.
That $5.8 million grant was, I thought, just for Halleck's Mill, and Farm Walk is not Halleck's Mill.
But like I say, we changed the scope of work. All these stations need to be rebuilt, but the approach on some of the stations, in my opinion, wasn't appropriate. There were ways to save some money.
So we're leveraging the grant we had to get more done.
Wait, I can understand that you're changing the scope of the work that EDR said, and I have been asking for several months now to see more details of what changes you are contemplating, and I don't know if that work has been finished. So I would like to see that, all right? And to see, just for the 3 Halleck's Mill stations, what is being done. But this resolution talks...
4 Halleck's Mills.
What?
There's 4 Halleck's Mills.
4 Halleck's Mill. But this resolution also says something about that it was to be paid for you're saying... that the money for farm walks is going to be paid for out of that grant money?
Some of it, we're funded at 80%.
But that was for Halleck's Mill pump stations.
I told you, we changed.
Who changed that?
I did.
Is that a change from the paperwork that you got the grant from? That was a federal grant, I believe.
No, it's a state grant.
State grant.
I mean, there's a lot here. I mean, if you want to come in someday and discuss it, we.
Dan, did you go to the state and say,
yes,
this is kosher?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to see that grant. And then what do you estimate is the total cost of the projects now?
$7.2 million.
That's a current estimate?
Yep.
Okay, and when can we expect to see specs?
We're probably going to do farm walks sooner than later. So you may see those early fall. The other pump stations will be hopefully happening before that. We may do some pre-purchasing, and there's some other work we want to do. We have, some of these stations have underground oil tanks. So before we go out to bid, we think we're going to address that issue and not put it into a general contract. We also may pre-purchase some generators and electrical equipment. So we may be doing that sooner than later.
And I think it's important to point out that we still have to go through EFC, and we're on the list, but they won't assign the grants or the bonding until next year, I believe. So anything we do is going to need to be done on our dime beforehand, and then the grant should be, I'm sorry, not the grant, the bond should be accessible next year.
If 25% is being paid from taxpayers, right?
20.
20%, okay. Are the Osceola taxpayers going to pay for their 20% of the cost for the farm walk station? Because farm walk is part of Osceola.
Absolutely. That's why the bond resolution is structured as it is.
All right. Has that been worked out in terms of what's going to cost the taxpayers? Do you have any kind of estimate on that?
20% of $7.2 million.
No, it's minus the 5.8.
Yeah, 20%.
Which is 20%.
20%. So what? Yeah. Do you think the taxpayers at this public hearing should know that when the time comes for them to pay, what it's going to cost them? Especially in Osceola, because their water rates are going to go up also. To pay O&M for us.
That's not a completely true statement.
What's?
Well, we're talking about changing, people's taxes are going to go down, people are going to be paying on their water bill.
All right, okay.
It's a whole,
and we're not
deal.
even there yet, so.
Right, exactly.
So, Dan, to summarize it real quick, the
By the fall for farm work.
7.2 million, 80% of it is 5.75 million-ish.
Yeah,
and you're getting 5.8 million. So is that why you sort of added farm walk, so that you could utilize all the money?
I'll give you.
He re-engineered what they were doing, right?
I mean, I'll give you an example.
The 50,000-foot view.
I'll give you an example. Some of the stations were too far gone.
Yeah.
But other ones, like for example, there's a pump station done for Hanover East. That's was built in the 80s. A lot of the electrical equipment, the pumps, all should be replaced. The generator should be replaced. The proposal was to bring in one of these package units, and if you were to go to the site, you would see that there's like a 12-foot wide driveway between two people's houses. To do what they were saying would have been like so disruptive and very expensive because of the difficulty of doing it. There'd be bypass, it would be just, so that was the kind of discussions I had with EDR and there's considerable savings by not completely removing the facility and rebuilding it.
So,
That
so,
we're-
so just if I could just summarize, because I mean, I understand what you did, and thank you for doing that. You know, I don't understand what the dilemma is here. You had a project, we had money. There was additional costs for Farm Walk. But by you looking at the project, re-engineering, salvaging what could be salvaged, where they're still in good shape according to what you believe.
Some of the stuff. Yeah.
Some of the stuff. Salvaging what you could have salvaged. You did that. You went back to the state. Everything is approved. And so as a result of your best efforts, you saved taxpayers money, and we're ready to move forward. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, it's accurate.
Okay.
And another way to frame this is all 5 of these pump stations need significant work.
Of course, yeah.
So do we want to pay 100% down the road to, if, it should come in at
No.
7.2. If it comes up a little bit more, it just, all these things have to be done. It's, infrastructure, they're in places where nobody sees them, but when the sewage comes back into your house, you
That's when
become
you know.
very, very aware that there may be a problem.
I appreciate what you did, and I want to say thank you.
So Farm
I have
Walk
no
is
further
going to be the first one in the fall?
I think so, yeah.
And then what's the time frame again for the next which one?
It'd probably be going out to bid in the winter to kick it off in the spring.
And what about the others? What's,
No, I'm saying the Farm Walk would go out to bid in the fall. The other 4 would go out in the winter.
in the winter? Okay.
Hopefully with a spring kickoff.
Would you do those all together as one package?
Perhaps, yeah.
All right, let's authorize the
Let's go spend the money.
Okay.
let's
thank you.
authorize the controller to transfer $29,500 from the Hunter Brook Fund balance to maintenance and repair for the pump station.
Dan, don't go away. I have a question on that one. Back in March, the board approved a contract for Fred Cook to do some infiltration and inflow and infiltration work, I&I work, and we've exchanged emails, and that's been delayed. The last I emailed you to say, has that been scheduled yet?
As of Friday, they called me and said they were going to do it this week. So I'm guessing maybe because of the weather, they blew us off, but it was supposed to start this week.
How long do you anticipate that job takes?
I would imagine they'll be at it for about a month.
Okay, and then how would we finance whatever they find needs to be done? How would that get financed?
Well, we're getting some money from Toll Brothers.
So they've already committed to like 60 or
Yes.
70 manholes.
Well, no, it's a different scenario now.
Oh, huh.
They're just going to give us money.
Oh, they've changed?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that part of a planning board resolution to change that? Well, no, that was our resolution.
Yeah, I think it was the rezoning, yeah.
Is that part of is there paperwork on that?
There's a resolution.
All right.
All right, authorize the controller to release performance bond 107631630 to Ricardella Estates LLC in the amount of $25,000. Authorize the controller to release an erosion control bond to Thermodynamic LLC in the amount of $500. Authorize the controller to release an erosion control bond to David and Elizabeth Colasurdo in the amount of $500. Authorize the controller to release an erosion control bond to Christopher and Amanda Collier in the amount of $9,000. Authorize the controller to release erosion control bond to Anthony Ambrogio in the amount of $500. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the Highway Department as enumerated below for highway fund balance to highway paving and from fund balance to CHIPS. And that's $431,000 as we start to get our paving going. Authorize a bid to advertise for tree removal services for the Highway Department. from the Mohegan Lake Beach District. Is that what you've been waiting for, Ken? Oh, he left, so I guess he wasn't waiting. Award a bid for Mohegan Lake Bathroom Rehabilitation Project. Be it resolved, Mohegan Lake Bathroom Rehabilitation Project is hereby awarded to the low bidder, AM Restoration, Inc., for a total price of $65,000. And just a note for the public, that is actually paid for by the Mohegan Lake Improvement District. They have their own funds that get taxed and put aside for that. From the Office of the Planning Department, authorize a contract with Beardsley Design Associate Engineers, Landscape Architectures, DPC, for the adoptive reuse of the field home. And this is them putting together a plan to attract some businesses based on the best course of action is seen through professionals who do these type of historical adaptive reuses. All right, and can I have a motion on all of those?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Advertise for the.
You got the
Oh,
last one.
I missed one? Sorry. Well, good thing we
Bid
didn't
on the
close
town
yet.
vehicle.
From the Office of the Refuse and Recycling Department, or advertise bid for town-owned vehicle repair, automobiles and trucks. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I bet you I'll get my motion in second quick on this. Motion to,
Before you go to the next one, Kite says something.
motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, Yorktown. Thank you all for your attendance.